Have you ever struggled to the top of Mt.Komorebi and thought, now what? Maybe your Sims already had woohoo in a cave on the way up and they aren't interested in a round 2. Well, at Mt.Komorebi summit is a small and special editable lot, and it has arguably the most jaw-dropping views of any lot in the game. But what on earth should you do with it? It's time to improve your gameplay with 5 ideas for lots to build atop of Mt.Komorebi's peak. And note that you'll need the Snowy Escape expansion pack to access this lot. First up is an Observatory Campsite. If you love camping, as well as stars and space, then this will likely be for you. Besides the campfires and a few accessories, this can very easily be put together with just the Snowy Escape expansion pack. Tents will provide a place to rest and recoup, and woohoo, and if this wasn't enough, then you can also woohoo in the backyard observatory, or even the cave that's located at Mt.Komorebi's peak. That's right, your Sims will be spoiled for choice. But this isn't just about woohooing atop a mountain. No, it is not. The telescopes make for an awesome activity for your Sims where they can train up their logic skill. And the backyard observatory can also let them uncover and gain space prints while they are there. And overall, the vibe will very much feel like a small Arctic research camp. I highly suggest having your Sim bring along a camera to Mt.Komorebi's peak, allowing them to snap up some gorgeous photos of the surrounding area and the jaw-dropping view. They can then bring these back home to remember their journey. If you have the Moschino stuff pack, then you can even pop down some tripods with cameras attached and pretend that the weather won't totally destroy them. It's The Sims, it won't, and then your Sim can use these to take photos as well. I also like adding the science layer lot trait to this, which will allow for your Sims to train their logic skill a little bit faster too. This idea is kind of inspired by the Northern Lights, which are just so incredible and jaw-dropping. I know the Northern Lights aren't in Japan, which is what the world of Mt.Komorebi is inspired by, but you know, there is a snowy climate atop the mountain, and this is kind of similar to the Arctic where the Northern Lights appear, so we can imagine. The second idea that we're going to look at is a natural hot spring. There is nothing more exciting than struggling through an expedition through the freezing snow only to reach the top and be greeted with a steamy natural hot spring hidden within a group of thick pine trees. It just makes for a rather satisfying end to the journey when you reach Mt.Komorebi's peak, and for some reason just seems so relaxing and it makes me happy. I also added in an easel here, so that Sims who have a high creativity skill can paint the view, or alternatively a friend soaking in the natural spring. And this makes for a really gorgeous memory to take home. Of course, taking photos is another great option, but I just wanted to pop something different in this lot and give it an extra activity while keeping it relatively simple overall. The third idea is to build an adorable little tea house at Mt.Komorebi's peak. Similar to a hot spring, it just provides a very comforting environment for your Sims who have just trekked up a freezing mountain. I'm not sure about you, but for me, when I arrive home after being out on a really cold day, I love to just sit down, rug up, and make myself a tea. In addition to a cozy fireplace and a bookcase for Sims to grab and get lost in a story, I've of course also popped in the base game tea brewer to make the tea for the tea house. And I also added in a tea set from the My Wedding Stories game pack too, which can work well if you wanted a more traditional tea making feel. It's not quite the same as a Japanese tea ceremony, but it is something. In addition to a small bathroom, I then added in a side room for activities, where Sims can turn on a heater, sit on the couch, and do some cross-stitching. All in all, it's really just set up to be a super cozy space for your Sims to spend some time and unwind at once they reach Mt.Komorebi's peak. I also added the peace and quiet lot trait to this, which helps with gaining skills from reading and also helps with relieving tense moodlets. While it's a nice touch, do know that this lot trait comes with the Jungle Adventure game pack and that it's definitely not essential. The fourth idea we're going to look at is turning the peak into a spot for a private wedding. Let's be honest, you can pop the question and engage or tie the knot at this summit simply as it is. It's a gorgeous and unique location that will certainly make the moment special, but you can also add a little bit more excitement here with an arch and a bit of decorating. I feel like you don't want to overdo it too much and just let the scenery speak for itself, but I also love a little bit of decorating. Tying the knot at Mount Komorebi's peak certainly makes for a very special marriage, and it's great fun provided you don't want too many attendees and at most only want a handful of ridiculously fit guests with a high rock climbing skill who can climb the mountain. And now for the final idea, and this will require the Paranormal Stuff Pack. It is to create a kind of magic or witches circle where Sims can live their best spiritual life. I popped in the seance table from the Paranormal Stuff Pack that you can use to summon ghosts or even bone Hilda, just because it can get a little lonely atop a giant mountain. I feel like Mount Komorebi's peak just feels mystical and magical, and so it makes training the medium skill and summoning and communing with ghosts there rather fun. In addition, if any Sims have died atop Mount Komorebi, perhaps from being frozen, then you can even add in their graves to the build if you wanted to. And who knows, maybe their ghosts will appear when you visit. I keep imagining this spot as a place for a coven to meet, but then I'm not sure if the average witch will be able to climb to Mount Komorebi's peak. And with that, we're at the end. That's 5 different ideas for things that you can build at Mount Komorebi's peak. If you enjoyed or found this helpful, then please subscribe and leave a like. I would really appreciate it, and have an amazing day. See you later.